First things first, the tea. Wakey wakey. When you go to museums, when you go to certain things like wine tasting and stuff, it's not expensive. It looks expensive, but it's not. For example, when you go to museums and all that stuff, it's usually like $20 to get in. Like, it's not that, like, you're not gonna break the bank for a day out. It's just, you're in a pretty area, you can go there. It's just, you know, I always wanted to go, and I love the show Bridgerton, and my favorite couple was there, so I was like, I'm gonna, like, you know. A funny thing happened when I went there. This book, when I went to Fiji at the beginning of this year, it's called Becoming Supernatural. It talks about basically your mind is like a telephone tower. You attract what you put out. So basically, if you ask the universe for XYZ, the universe will give you XYZ. The key is to just be open and don't put any like limitations to us. So I did some of the practices. I even got my little journal out, this little guy. When you start practicing with gratitude, because the universe is apparently love, understand negativity, but when you provide it with love, it will respond back in love. And if you do it in future terms, your brain will think, oh, it already happened. Act like you already received it. And it will happen, it will manifest. It explains more. It sounds hooly-dooly, but sometimes you just gotta, like, don't take life too seriously. That was part of the reason why I went to said park, because it looks very, you know, impressive. Like, only like people who have like artists and all that stuff go there, who are like very posh. And one of the teachings in the book of Becoming Supernatural is like, act like the person you want to be. So hence why I put on my blazer, because I bought this a while ago, and I thought, well, you know what would the future me wear, dress and act like? Hence why I started YouTube. I went there, I took some videos, just really just soak it all in, because when you go places by yourself, a lot more done in said area, because when I go with people, have different vibrations. To me, I always love going to places where it's very like pretty, it's inspirational, and get familiar with said lifestyle. And the funny thing is, like, in my head, I was like, oh my god, I just paid like a rich person to walk around in his backyard or front yard, whatever that may be. Because it's on a giant property. Technically it is the town. Looked around the museum. It's free, so I was like, you know, since I'm here, I might as well have something free, and then I'm gonna go, you know, to the cafe, because they're right next to each other. I sat down at the cafe. And then I was like, you know, sitting down, what am I gonna do? That's when I was like writing down on my little journal of what I wanted. Often do you see like just a single woman going to a cafe next to like one of the most prettiest parks, museum, and a very fancy looking like cafe, ordering a cauliflower salad and a white wine? Like, how often do you see that? I was like, girl, you are living my dream. I really admire you. Please tell me your secrets. And she said, oh, I was blowing glass. It's a little treat to myself, hence why I bought myself like a salad and a glass of wine. And I was like, oh my god, she is so cool. Not only that she's from like the city, but she came down here for a day to blow glass and to just be one of those girls. And I was like, oh my god, like, queen. I was like, oh, what is your secret? She recommended this book called Worthy. At first I was like, oh, like, okay, is this the book? And she's like, yeah, just read it. It changed my life. She was telling me one of the part that moved the needle for her was tally your excuses. And I was like, wow, like that hit home for me. Like I recently just finished the book and my god, like, oh. The universe moves in weird ways. So the second lady who walked into the cafe, she sat right next to me. She was by herself. She was in her like late 50s, mid 60s, in that zone, and she sat right next to me. I already finished my meal. She ordered her steak sandwich and I think like a coffee or something along those lines, and I struck up a conversation with her. I was like, oh, what brought you here today? She said to me, oh, I'm waiting for my husband to finish off his checkups, because you know, when you get to that age, anything is like, you know, health is very important and very fragile, I guess. Then she asked me what is my interpretation of the museum, because at the time I didn't know, but apparently she had some artworks in multiple museums, and I looked at the price tags of these these artworks, and you'd be surprised, like they are high-end. But you know what, you can't really put a price tag on art, I guess. So I gave her my honest opinion about the museum. I was like, every room was different but the same. It felt like I'm going around in circles trying to separate my past self from my new self, but I always seem to come back to myself in the end. 3 sections. One was like mirrors and artwork of 2 different colors. The next one was a mirror thing, when you go around in a circle you still see each other. The next one was basically a sign. And the other one I didn't know until the end. I just thought it was just blobs, but I read the thing afterwards when I was doing the editing, and apparently they were like flowers that bloom after a devastation. They may look weird, but that's because new environments, and they're just adapting to new things. It doesn't mean that they are weird, it just means they're evolving. She found that to be very interesting, so she asked me about my life story. And so I told her my life story, and surprise, surprise, like she actually just listened to me, which was interesting, because usually it's just like you get the usual pat on the back of just like, you'll get through it, not everyone thinks that way. But no, this lady, she actually just sat there, she listened to me, she nodded her head, she asked a few questions here and there, but at the end of it she was like, life is not that serious. I laughed at that because I was like, it's so true, like life is not that serious. And she says to me, like, you're still young, you still got time, don't take things too seriously. And she also gave me this book called Big Magic, and I was like, oh, thank you very much. And again, I just basically finished that book yesterday, and wow, those 2 books and those 2 people at that exact same time, it's just like, those are the exact same books like I needed. It gave me reassurance that I believe I was on the right path. Every time when my world seems to be falling apart, doesn't mean to make sense, it just simply means that I have what I needed to learn, and I needed to, you know, not fight the change, but to accept it and to allow the new blessings to come into my life. So that's how I interpreted the day. I was like, the goddess is on my side, she wants me to win. At the same time, I got to trust the process. So I'm trusting the process, I'm trusting the universe, because I never used to be into these like hooly-dooly things. Like right now I'm just gonna like see where life takes me. I'm not gonna take life too seriously. I'm gonna do what I want to do and don't hurt anyone in the process and learn. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna